there was a blip there. So I'm Angel Valance, Life Fit Mama, and I wanted to jump in real quick because I'm sitting here thinking about food FOMO, and I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. Because first of all, let me have a disclaimer here. I am about to turn 40, like in about a week and a half or something. And I used to not even know what the acronym FOMO stood for. So you can make fun of me a little bit if you want. But in case you are like me and maybe you don't know what that is, it's fear of missing out. How much fun is that, right? So it's kind of like YOLO, you only live once. It's FOMO, fear of missing out. It's a very real thing. And so I'm sitting here, kind of in some of my reflective time, thinking about myself and my life and my habits and, kind of opening myself up in prayer and thinking, okay, God, where's some areas of my life that maybe I need to exercise my little self-discipline muscle a little bit? And one of the things that I felt him kind of pressing on my heart was about this fear of missing out. He helped me identify and see that some of my eating choices have been over the last, and I'm talking like 20 years, have been purely motivated by fear of missing out on the opportunity to eat that food. And most of the time it's the most unhealthy foods, right? Because nobody has FOMO over broccoli or carrots. Nobody does, right? But could you see and apply that, or see how there've probably been times in your life where maybe you didn't eat on something until you wouldn't normally buy Reese's peanut butter cups to keep stocked in your fridge or your house or whatever. I like mine in the fridge. Not that I keep them there. I promise there's none in there right now. But we wouldn't, maybe we're health minded and we've started our fit journey and, so we're thinking about making sure that we're making healthy choices. And so we wouldn't normally buy soda for our house, or we wouldn't normally buy, all the items, or we wouldn't go through the trouble of making fried chicken. But in a FOMO or fear of missing out situation, such as the husband says, hey, you want to go get some Raising Cane's? And I immediately kind of think, how often does my husband offer to go spend money on a restaurant or food or, like a drive-thru or whatever? How often do I get to do that? And two, how often do I get to get Raising Cane's? I should, listen, this is my reasoning. I should do that. I should grab hold of this opportunity right now before I miss out. In my eyes, I'm seeing that is a fear-based motivation for going for that food. It's not a treat. It's not really a treat. It's a lot different than if my kid came home and said, Mom, my teacher gave us all a little bag of cookies and I want to share one with you. And so that, if I accepted a cookie from my little girl at that moment, it's not out of, when's the next time I'm going to be able to eat a cookie? The fact of the matter is that that motivation is different. I would be embracing the opportunity to receive a gift from my daughter and enjoy a moment with her, whether that was a cookie or a piece of art or an activity that we could do together. I would say yes to that. You see the difference? And so what I'm noticing is that this FOMO moments, how to get past them, is all going to be rooted in identifying my motivation, questioning it, and being able to be honest with myself about, whether or not I need to say yes. Is my motive true and right in saying yes to this food or this situation? And whether or not it's food, honest to God, parenting, there are so many different areas of our life. And I'm just talking about food right now because it is an area that, as an emotional eater and overcomer, I like to call myself, I feel like it's not addressed enough, especially especially from a faith perspective. So, when we talk about, God giving us the spirit of love, power, and sound mind, self-control in some of the variations that you see, this is applicable, right? So that FOMO, that fear of missing out on what it is, like, when's the next time I'm going to be able to eat like this? I should take the opportunity right now. So I'm noticing, so I already gave you the example of if my husband was to say, let's go out to eat, or let's go through the drive-through or whatever and get something that we wouldn't normally get on a regular basis, something I don't get to eat, like it's something I should really, really look forward to, right? Then it's something I don't get to eat. The difference between that and where the motivation for that comes from being fear-based versus a moment of receiving a gift and wanting to be able to partake in it regardless of what it is, whether it's food or not, right? So I shared the example of my daughter. So here's another situation, though, that I've recognized this fear of missing out is where it has happened in my life before and contributed to my self-sabotaging habits of, you start on this focus of I'm going to eat healthy, I'm going to be fit, I'm going to stay focused, I'm going to get more discipline in this area of food and nutrition and fitness and being physically strong and healthy from the inside out, right? So another instance would be going to the grocery store. So usually I would go grocery shopping as a family. So it would be all of my kids and my husband in tow, and we would all go together and make some food choices together, usually off of a shopping list from the meal planning that I created on Sunday morning. Then we normally would go shopping Sunday afternoon, usually after church on the way home. And so in that situation, when I'm in the store with them, I would not normally pick up, say, ooh, let's go get ice cream because the opportunity is right there, or whatever, or let me buy I'm a human being, yes, I believe in eating healthy 90% of the time, as much as I can for staying healthy inside out and meeting all my goals and all that stuff that is common for people to talk about when you're in health and fitness mindset. But I'm human. So I get tempted just like anybody else, I see foods that are trigger foods for me, and usually it's tied to emotions or a time in my life where I really indulged in that food in order to try to fill an emotional void. That's another video kind of subject. But for example, I like cinnamon rolls. Okay, when we pass by between dairy and eggs, there's that whole little section of Pillsbury, and they have the cinnamon rolls in the cans, and they also have the pre-made formed cookies, the sugar cookies and stuff like that. That is a trigger for me because when I was in middle school and high school, I used to hide my food. I used to grab those types of foods like the pre-made little cheesecake bites or the brownie mixes and the sugar cookie mixes, the preformed, and I would just eat it. And it was a way for me to be able to hide it and still get to eat it, right? But hide it from others because I could kind of keep that in my own belongings and I wouldn't have to make a kitchen mess and all that. So I was able to hide it from my parents or anybody who would care that I was eating grossly unhealthy. And that, for me at that time, it was because I was in dance and very low self-esteem and very self-conscious, body conscious and everything. So I felt the need to hide my foods, especially if it was anything other than a salad or an apple. Okay. So when I'm in the store now as a grown adult, about to turn 40, I still kind of feel those triggers sometimes, or the temptation to want to let me just pick this up and put it in the cart, but because my husband is with me, my kids are with me, and I want to be that good example for my kids, and my husband is very aware of my goals, and my desire to live and make healthy choices, I don't pick it up because I want them, I want to be the good example. And it's kind of like a check, like, you don't really need that, Angel. You don't need that. You don't need it. And so I don't pick it up. But if I was in the store by myself, I would be even more tempted to say, I could get this and pick it up. My mind immediately goes to, I could pick it up and like buy it under the radar, So I kind of think of that as like, retail therapy with, for other people, maybe for you, it's dresses, or sales, or, buying enough clothes for yourself or your kids or whatever. Maybe it's that. But for me, it's in the food area, not in the clothing, I mean, it can manifest differently for everyone. But but I'm talking specifically about that fear of missing out on food. And so when I'm by myself and I don't have that little check already in place with my family being present with me, and I am tempted to just pick it up and, I could buy this and hide it and, nobody would be aware, then I have to kind of have this motivation check, this heart check, this gut check, and say, am I picking this food up because I'm afraid, or I'm in fear of missing out of the opportunity to have this food ever again? And the truth of the matter, like, I reasoned it out. Like if you're like me, maybe you reason it out and you kind of go, okay, I should get that because I could just get it. It'd be a nice treat I should treat myself. I deserve it, right? I should get this for myself and totally indulge in this moment. And I've done really good, so I should do it. But reality is I'm actually acting on this fear of never being able to eat that food without somebody else knowing and catching me in it. Does that make sense? So another situation that I recognize is like when you go to a gathering, like or a celebration or a party or something like that. Okay, now don't get me wrong. I am an advocate. I totally believe in, if you go to a party and you're celebrating, especially if you're celebrating your birthday, have the cake and feel free to enjoy that moment in celebration. However, I also believe not allowing those celebrations to completely overrule and all of your health and fitness goals. If it depends on the season of life that you're in. If you're totally committed to this program and you're like, I'm in a 60-day, 90-day program, and for that 60 to 90 days, whatever it is, 30 days, 21 days, for the next 3 weeks, I am going to develop my self-discipline muscle over sugars, right? Over sugar in my diet. So I'm going to I need to practice. Then in that sense, I'm an advocate for actually exercising that self-discipline muscle and saying no. But, I also believe in having the cake when you go to a birthday party or whatever. So, but what I've noticed is when you have those gatherings, or for me personally, not you may not have this fear of missing out, but I've noticed in me, if I go to a gathering with family or friends or whatever, and I see like there's 3 or 4 different foods on the buffet or the array of, potluck dishes or whatever, and I go, ooh, look at that dish. When is the next time that I'm ever going to be able to eat that? And, it's not like a homemade treat that I've never tasted before, or something that's only made like once a year and I don't know how to make it myself and I couldn't just go to the store and pick it up. It's like, ooh, that kind of thing, if it's like grandma's rum cake and it's like the only thing, the one time a year that she makes it, I mean, go for it. But if you're in a gathering of friends and somebody brings something like, Raisin Canes or something, and you're like, ooh, Raisin Canes, when is the next time I'm going to be able to have Raisin Canes? That I'm noticing for me, I'm motivated to eat the Raisin Canes as if I will never have the opportunity to eat Raisin Canes again, when the truth of the matter is, if I really want Raisin Canes, I can go hop in my car, drive down the road, and pick it up for myself any day of the week, any time of the day. But in that moment, is it a fear of missing out on the opportunity? Because, if I don't indulge in it now, I never will. You know what I'm saying? And I just find that that silly little mind game that I play with myself, that I allow myself to self-sabotage and talk myself into food choices that I wouldn't normally make for myself. And at the end of the day, honestly, is not driven by true motives of the reason that I tell myself to choose it, So I do believe in there being seasons of my life that, for these weeks or months or whatever, I'm gonna, if I feel like God's put on my heart that I need to exercise that self-discipline muscle, like I've been saying, of saying no to certain situations or certain decision makings, habits that I've put myself into, then I'm going to, no matter what, follow the peace in my heart and check my motivation to, should I say yes to this right now in this situation or not? And so, but then there's other times that I feel like, okay, and let me say this, the reason why, and I'm going to close the video after this, the reason why I believe that the FOMO, the fear of missing out motivations is so off base, and why I feel like I'm being led right now to really hone in and pay attention to those moments for me, is because what I'm realizing is when I make my decisions for which foods I'm going to eat based on that, when am I ever going to be able to have it, or the fear of missing out on that food and not being able to enjoy it, I am in actuality not free. I am being held captive by that faulty thinking or that negative, emotionally driven motivation to reach for the food, right? And that it's not, in that moment, I am not living in my truth and being true to my authentic self and being free to be me in all the sense of the things that I truly desire for my health and my life, which is a whole lot different than that moment where I realize, okay, by saying no, by exercising that self-discipline muscle and saying, no, I don't need this right now, and I'm not depriving myself, and I don't need to be fearful of missing out on the opportunity to have this, then in actuality, I am more free later to be able to choose those foods in a more appropriate time when my motivation for choosing to partake in them is more true and more pure and more self-enhancing, not self-sabotaging. Does that make sense? So if you jumped onto this and you want to be able to chime in, if you have ever felt like that before, I would love to hear, see a high five, see a thumbs up, or send me some hearts and just let me know. Yeah, I can recognize that. I can see where maybe sometimes I make that decision to grab hold or, reach for a food in self-sabotaging way out of more of a fear of missing out on it than out of a place of peace and freedom. So I know that's kind of like a real in-depth discussion for like deeper meaning to something that seems so simple as like food. But from an emotional eater overcomer, like me, I kind of have to go there because all those deep-seated emotions are usually tied to my eating choices. So it may not be a big deal for you, and you may be thinking, God, Angel, you don't really have to go there. Why do you have to go there? But for me, it's a very real thing, and so I choose to go there wherever God leads me. So love you guys, and I hope that this rings true for you and helps you identify those motivations, and maybe take that moment, that breath, that step, where you stop for a little check of the heart and say, why am I motivated to grab this or take part in this food right now? If it's a pure motive in a place where you still feel really at peace, then go for it. If not, exercise that self-discipline muscle and be proud of yourself that you're getting stronger inside and out. All right? Love you guys. Bye.